Planting coral is painstakingly slow work, but for Venkatesh Sharlo, a former banker who traded spreadsheets for scuba gear, it is deeply personal. He founded Coastal Impact and works with a small team of volunteers off the coast of Goa to bring damaged reefs back to life. Rebuilding reefs is a costly work, so he came up with a creative way to fund the mission by inviting locals and tourists to chip in, one coral at a time.
And it's a 1-year adoption period where we give them a certificate of adoption, we give them the photograph of the coral fragment, we give them the sizes with a promise that we will give them a fresh photograph at the end of 1 year with the increased sizes.
Across the globe, conservationists are working to stop the damage, from Egypt's coral gardens to Greece's deep-sea reefs.
What's really interesting and I think encouraging about the ocean is that a lot of the ocean can bounce back if it's been left alone.
But these efforts are swimming against a rising tide. Ocean temperatures are rising fast, causing widespread coral bleaching, disrupting fish migration, killing underwater forests, and weakening entire marine food chains. For example, coral reefs make up much less than 1% of the seabed, but they host an incredible amount of fish. So it's not just beautiful scenery, but an economic powerhouse supporting hundreds of millions of livelihoods worldwide.
So coral reefs are fundamentally important in terms of coastal protection, fisheries, but also biodiversity, because 1 in every 3 species of marine animals actually live in coral reefs. And yet they're very, very sensitive to human impacts.
84% of corals have already been hit by bleaching. If global temperatures rise 1.5 degrees Celsius above pre-industrial levels, the lower end of Paris Agreement target, most reefs are expected to die.
I am afraid that the risk that we're facing is that our grandchildren, unless we really mobilize society quickly, that the risk that we're facing is that our grandchildren will learn of coral reefs in the same coloring books where they learn of dinosaurs.
It's not just marine life that's on the line, it's humanity's too. The ocean produces over half of the oxygen we breathe, and for more than 1 billion people, fish is their main source of protein. In total, around 600 million people depend directly on the ocean for their income, especially in coastal nations like India, Indonesia, and China. Protecting ocean isn't charity, it's survival. Back in 2022, more than 190 countries agreed to a bold proposition: protect 30% of all marine areas by 2030. This week, all stakeholders have been meeting at the UN Ocean Conference in Nice, France. The conference isn't just about drawing lines on maps. It's about ensuring marine protection that actually works, which is ecologically sound, properly managed, and fair to local communities. The goal is to let ecosystems heal, give fish space to recover, build resilience against climate change. But how close are we to hitting that 30% target?
8% of the ocean has been protected today. Some of that is probably not real protection. We talk sometimes about paper parks, and paper parks is where a park has been designed or protected there, has been designated on paper, so on a map. The boundaries have been drawn, but the management measures of the activities that are actually threatening the biodiversity values that are to be protected have not been put in place or have not been adequate.
Creating marine protected areas sounds straightforward, but the reality is messier than a fish market at a closing time. Take West Africa. Marine areas appear protected on maps, but industrial fishers continue operating with impunity, bulldozing through local fisheries and ecosystems. Or here in Goa, the same coastline where Sharlu plants his coral babies. Government's proposals for new marine reserves face fierce resistance from fishing communities who are worried about losing their income.
And so protected areas need to be developed together with communities. The stakeholders don't understand why the protected area is good for them. It's not going to work. But during the time when the communities might have restricted fishing access in that particular area, they will need access to other ways of developing, other ways of having an income.
And not everyone is against the protection efforts. Some locals here in Goa are already stepping up to be part of the solution. Avantika Mishra, a local diver and surfer, became one of these coral foster parents.
In 5-6 years of diving myself, I've seen the decline of the color of the coral, for example. And that hurts. And someone who's close to the water sports personally, that's my community. That's the people you be with. It's nice to be able to do something, even if it's just a little bit.
Projects like Coastal Impact show how emotional connections to the ocean can inspire action. But to truly protect the ocean, we must not forget to look closer to shore. Thinking about oceans just as blue expanses far away from the coast, full of whales and deep-sea wonders, misses a crucial point.
Yeah, so coastal habitats, they kind of sit between land and ocean, and often people working on land do not consider it land, and people working on ocean don't consider it ocean. So they have really been orphan of attention for a long time, including from conservation organizations.
Enter the unsung heroes, salt marshes and seagrass meadows, nature's secret carbon banks. For example, seagrass. They can sequester carbon 35 times faster than rainforests, and also locking it away for longer periods. But these habitats sit in humanity's backyard, making them vulnerable to tourism, agriculture, and urban development. But there are signs of hope on that front as well. In the Maldives, for example, a marine conservationist, Shaha Hashim, has helped recover seagrass meadows that act not only as carbon reservoirs, but helps bind the sand together and prevent erosion, a major challenge for an island country like the Maldives.
When I was growing up, I didn't know much about seagrass. Whenever I saw a seagrass patch on an island, I was warned not to go nearby because there'll be dangerous things living there. Oh, it's not as beautiful as the white sandy beaches.
Her efforts led to dozens of resorts pledging to keep at least 80% of its original seagrass. Some resorts have not only stopped removing seagrass, but began educating their guests through talks and guided snorkeling tours with marine biologists to showcase the seagrass's natural biodiversity. These examples show that when local communities lead, marine protection works.
We can recover the abundance of marine life within one human generation. So that's about 30 years. So around 2050, we can hand over an ocean to our children and our grandchildren that will be probably comparable, not in every aspect, but probably comparable in abundance.
To protect 30% of the ocean by 2030, the world needs more than words. It needs financing, science, and local engagement.
Because when you make people feel like they own something and when they lose it, it hurts that much more.
The challenge now is to turn those political promises into real protection.